House is fast degenerating into what I would want to call very, very latently as a kangaroo institution. Mr. Speaker, we have been told many times, and there has been a tradition in this House, that you don't impute improper motive on a person who has got no capacity or opportunity to defend themselves in this House. Regardless of what personal issues...
Order, raise the point
I'm raising it, Mr. Speaker. What is the hurry, Mr. Speaker? Regardless of what personal issues Honorable Chungwa might be harboring against Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta and that Honorable Raila Umechokesha. Is it in order, Mr. Speaker, that Honorable Chungwa would refer to Honorable Raila Umechokesha as an urban terrorist, Mr. Speaker? Is that in order? Is that in order? Is that in order? Can you rule him out of order and ask him to withdraw and apologize? Yeah, thank you.
Order, honorable members. Honorable members, I want us to treat this institution for exactly what it is. It's an August House. And each and every one of you, as many as possible, will have an opportunity to weigh in on this adjournment motion. Please, and I'm begging you as members of parliament, because this institution belongs to us all, and the country and the 50 million Kenyans are looking unto us for us to keep our dignity. When you rise on a point of order, you say point of order, you wait for the chair to notice you and to give you the opportunity. When you don't like what somebody has said, don't shout across the aisle. Just rise on a point of order. If we denigrate and destroy the dignity of this House, we are destroying our own dignities, because we are the ones who constitute the House. I want to tell members of parliament, it is a tradition of this House that you avoid as much as possible attacking people who cannot defend themselves on the floor of the House. Don't impute any improper motive, although the withdrawal itself, as much as possible, is when you impute improper motive on a fellow member of parliament. There is no an express provision in the standing orders that says because you have imputed improper motives on somebody outside the House that you have to withdraw. That is not there. So what we do, Rosa, please. So, I'm sure you have exhausted your time. Because of the melee. Does he have some more time? He does not have any more time. Initial order, you have exhausted. It's exhausted, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, noise and name calling will not serve this House. Demonstrations and picketing are in the law, in the Constitution. And when it is going on, it is the duty of the police to maintain order. What happens in a demonstration depends on two groups of people, the demonstrators and the police. And there are evidence in history, like in the Selma March in the United States in the 60s, the black people were marching very peacefully. The people who were causing the violence were the police and police dogs. They achieved what they wanted. What happened here on Monday? Mr. Speaker, I was at KICC. We were sitting at KICC. There's nothing we were doing. The police threw tear gas. What was the reason? Mr. Speaker, in the afternoon when we were going through Mathare and Eastleigh, The people were basically not, they were listening to the speeches. They didn't even throw a stone. The police started putting tear gas and water cannons. In town, the police were attacking any group of people, regardless, and actually robbing some of them. So, Mr. Speaker, what happened on Monday, the chaos that we saw, at least in Nairobi, is totally attributable to the police. We were determined to have peaceful demonstrations. So, Mr. Speaker, nothing will stop these demonstrations until the issues we are talking about are addressed. And if the police wants to cause chaos, let them cause chaos. We shall remain peaceful. Mr. Speaker, let it also be known there's a simple principle in life and in this parliament. Let the minority have their say as the majority have their way. Mr. Speaker, if we reduce this house
Are you sure?
to the mood of the house,
Is it a serious point of order that has something to do with the order of the House? What's the order? What's the point of order?
Honorable Speaker, you know I will not rise on a frivolous point. I rise on Standing Order 87. Honorable Speaker, if you can protect me from the Honorable Rosa Buyu, I think she has listened to what the Honorable Nyikal has said. Honorable Speaker, because Standing Order 87-2 says that it shall be out of order to introduce an argument on any specific question upon which the House has taken a decision during the same session. Honorable Speaker, you know we made a decision on the IEBC Amendment Act as a House, Honorable Speaker. And listening to what Professor Nyikal is saying, amongst the issues they mention is a review of that particular act approved, enacted by this House, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker, unless the Honorable Nyikal can then substantiate, allow me, Honorable Speaker.
Order, Honorable Kimani Chunga, order. Please take your seat. Proceed, Honorable Nyikal, and finish your argument. The debate.
so, Mr. Speaker, I was saying, if we want peace in this country, let the principle which says, let the minority have their say and the majority have their way. If we get into a situation where the mood of the House stops them from debating difficult issues, we have no other option but to go and discuss them in the street. And that is what we shall do. Mr. Speaker, nature also says, those who have more will be expected of them. If you have more power in your hand by whatever way you get it, it is your duty to make sure there is peace and order in the country. And if you fail to do so, we shall continue. Monday is on.
Order, honorable members. Honorable members, Standing Order number 87. 1. Neither the personal conduct of the President nor the conduct of the Speaker or any judge, nor the judicial conduct of any other person performing judicial functions, nor any conduct of the head of state or government or a representative in Kenya of any friendly country, or the conduct of the holder of an office whose removal from such office dependent upon a decision of the House shall be referred to adversely except upon a specific substantive motion of which at least 3 days notice has been given. The personal conduct of the President, and all this I've mentioned. 2, it shall be out of order to introduce an argument or any specific question upon which the House has taken a decision. This one is not relevant for now. It shall be out of order to use offensive or insulting language, whether in respect of the members of the House or any other person. 4, No member shall impute improper motive to any other member or a senator except upon a specific substantive motion of which at least 3 days notice has been given, calling in question the conduct of the member or the senator. It shall be out of order for a member to criticize or call to question the proceedings in the Senate or the Speaker's rulings. Now this is irrelevant to the Senate, except as the Speaker may otherwise allow. It shall be out of order for a member to refer to an extract from print or electronic. This is also the media. What I'm basically trying to say is that, as much as possible, do not impute improper motives on anybody. You can substantively say that this and this and this is a conduct of so and so. You can talk about the official conduct of the president, but you cannot talk about the personal conduct of the president. So basically, let us just maintain ourselves within the purview of this, as standing order number 87. For a member of parliament, without a substantive motion, you cannot impute any improper motives. Honorable Anju, come here.
Honorable Speaker, thank you. And I just wanted to raise a point of order because I was getting scared when Honorable Nyika was speaking, because he was really using his hands, and I thought he's now to demonstrate here in the House. But having said that, Honorable Speaker, I want to support this motion, and I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that we all belong to this country. We do not have anywhere else to go if this country burns, and for that reason, it is paramount for all leaders, whether in opposition or government, to consider peace as the utmost important item in the lives and livelihoods of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, having said that, demonstrations are allowed in the Constitution, and now Article 37 is very popular. But when you read, it is written that you shall do it peacefully and without being armed. And Honorable Speaker, when you are looking at our TVs, we saw quite a number of youths who are armed. In fact, Honorable Speaker, there was a video going around where we saw some stones being sold at a cost of Kenya shillings 20 bob. And this kind of intention beats the logic of the demonstration. So as a leader in this country, Honorable Speaker, who come from a very peaceful county, and we all know that even the rains come from Nyandarua and the Abadeas before they spread to the rest of Kenya. This just shows you how peaceful Nyandarua County is. I would say that as much as demonstration would take place, let's be mindful of our fellow Kenyans. You can belong to this association, I can belong to this association, but the end of it all, we are all Kenyans. And Honorable Speaker, we are aware of countries like Somalia. We have been dispatching our army to DRC Congo, which is recently admitted to the EAC. We are aware of a country like South Sudan. These countries lost their status out of the beginning of such small situations, where the demonstration maybe grew to other unexpected situations. So I would plead as a woman that we need peace in this country. We can put our issues and they can be heard without harming others. Honorable Speaker, coming the next week, we are informed that the demos will continue twice a week. Just like the medicine was 1 times 1, now it will be times 2. How healthy will it be? I do not believe that we must demonstrate in a manner where we find chaos. Even people can go to Uhuru Park and sit if the area can be occupied by 1 million people, and the statement will be made. But this issue of these crashes, though I saw the police try to contain themselves to the maximum level of patience that they could have done, this message can still be passed otherwise. And I believe if we consider Kenya as our only home, we have nowhere else to go, and this is our motherland, regardless of whichever part of the government or opposition we come from, we shall advocate for peace. Demonstrations can be done and they be done proudly. I want to say that I support the member with this motion, and I want to ask my colleagues, very good colleagues, and I see them, my very good friends, Honorable Kaluma here, Honorable Miri, Honorable Rosa, and every other. Let's consider Kenya as our motherland, and particularly us as women, let's consider that when we harm the peace of those others, we are also going extra against the wishes of every Kenyan. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Makali Mulu.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I just want to add my voice to this important debate. Honorable Speaker, I think there are some fundamental questions we need to ask ourselves as leaders in this country. Honorable Speaker, this is the only assembly where every part of this country is represented. Honorable Speaker, if you mentioned any village in this country, you realize that there is somebody who represents that village in this assembly. That being a fact, Honorable Speaker, it means that as we approach issues, we must realize that the issues we discuss here must be issues of public interest. When we discuss issues here, honorable members, it must be issues which promote public interest. First question, the demonstrations on Monday, were they constitutional? Is there a constitutional provision for them? The answer is yes. Has there been in the past such demonstrations organized by the Azimio side? I normally call them processions, the earlier ones. There have been so many, above 20 honorable members. Have they been peaceful? The answer is yes. Why have they been peaceful? They have been peaceful, honorable members, because the police provided security instead of coming up and becoming brutal to the wananchi. So the reason why we have a problem with the Monday demonstrations is because the policemen, all we do provide budget for every year, all we pay their salaries every month, instead of protecting the public, ended up fighting, throwing tear gas, doing all such things you can imagine to the public. The question is, if the police behave the way they have been behaving in the past, in the other more than 20 processions, would there have been any problem? More likely the answer would be there would have no problem, Honorable Speaker. But Honorable Speaker, to me the most important question, and that's why I wish my friend Honorable Ichunga was in the House, Honorable Speaker. While I respect Honorable Kirwa, who is my good friend, if I were the one crafting this motion, Honorable Speaker, I would have asked for a adjournment motion, Honorable Speaker, to discuss the cost of living in this country. So that the ideas we are pushing this House, Honorable Speaker, are issues will be coming from the majority side and the minority side, sharing experiences, sharing strategies, sharing all what can be done to bring the cost of living in this country down, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, there is a common thing in this country. Whether you are in Azimio, whether you are in Kenya Kwanza, every Kenyan is complaining about the cost of living. How I wish we are spending these 2 hours to discuss what strategy we can use to make sure that the cost of living for the Kenyans is brought down, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, that's why I get very, at times, concerned as a Kenyan. I'm a leader in this country, and by the same time, I'm also a Kenyan. You realize, Honorable Speaker, the kind of energy, the kind of figure, the kind of zeal we use in this House in mentioning individual names, which don't add up an additional plate to our tables. It concerns me. I wish we spend a lot of time discussing things, Honorable Speaker, which can change the lives of our people. Honorable Speaker, these demonstrations will continue forever so long as the issue of cost of living is not addressed in this country. So if we want a solution, Honorable Speaker, let the majority leader and the minority leader lead their troops to discuss the cost of living in this country and see how we can bring it down. It could be a budgetary provision, it could be another way, but at the end of the day, it must be brought down, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for the time you've given me.
Oembaya, followed by the Honorable Bensouda.
Give me the microphone.
Order me, you'll have your moment.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Protect my minutes.
Proceed, Oembaya, proceed.
Honorable Speaker, I would like to state this, that as we read Article 37, we should never read it selectively. Because Article 37 is very clear. It says every person has the right, peaceably and unarmed, peaceably and unarmed, to picket, demonstrate. But what we saw on the 20th was an army that was invading Nairobi. People who are in military fatigue, who are camouflaging themselves, not as demonstrators, not as picketers, but people whose only intention was to go to State House and evict the President of this Republic of Kenya. And that, by dint of that speech, by whoever made it, those people that are economic saboteurs in this country, that they want to go and evict a sitting president who has been elected and put in office by this constitution, I want to tell you that whoever wants to do that, it will not happen in this country, because the police will protect the President of the Republic of Kenya. And that's what they did that day. Peaceably, Mr. Speaker, we saw people carrying stones and throwing stones at the police. We saw that in Kibra. We saw that in other parts of this country. Those are not peaceable demonstrators as expected by the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, we saw people who were armed and were approaching the police. The police were there stationed to ensure that they give people an opportunity to do their picketing well. And the president said it very well. Whoever wants to do picketing, whoever wants to do demonstration, should call the police officers, sit down, have a plan on how that demonstration was going to be done. That's what the president said. But we didn't see the organizers of the demonstration do that. What they did is they gathered themselves, put in some new military uniform in this country, and come out and say now they want to overthrow this government. Mr. Speaker, the police are here to ensure they maintain peace. One of the things to maintain peace is to protect the democratic rights of Kenyans and to ensure the democratic rights of Kenyans enshrined in this constitution are protected. And one of them is to protect the sovereign. And therefore, the police were protecting the sovereignty of this nation against people whose only idea is that they can never lose an election. Every time they lose an election, they think that the election has been stolen. That these same people, that they want to hold this country every year at ransom. That after every 5 years, they must cause chaos for them to be heard. This president has made it very clear. They can make the noise, they can do the demonstration, but there will be no handshake. And if they can't hear me now, they will hear me later, because I will still say the same thing. There will be no handshake. Honorable Speaker, they destroyed property in this CBD. A few people who are charged by the inciting speeches that have been made, by people who know nothing else in this country apart from inciting the publics. They destroyed property here. We saw a group of young people pull out a rail and throw it on the road. We saw a group of young people pelt buildings in this. We saw a group of people who wanted to attack the Supreme Court here. What were the police supposed to do? To stop it. How do they stop it? They stop it the best way they can. But what happens to the economy of this country? Today, the tourists that were in Malindi, that were in Kilifi, left. They went back, and they said this country, they can never come to this country. We lost revenue. In Malindi, in Watamu, in the coast region, we lost revenue. Why? Because of these demonstrations. Today, investors leave this country every day.
Honorable Bensouda, followed by Honorable Sioi. The chair has got to be sensitive to the agenda. Proceed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity to talk. I can see you are now relaxed when Bensouda is on the throne. I'm very glad, and as a teacher I thought that I would get the motion before it was brought here, so that I restructure it to suit the debate in line with the current status of the situation of this country.
Yes.
When we are talking about we should stop demonstrations, there are no demonstrations. It is expression of the status of this nation. I want to advise and I want to make my contribution in regard to the Monday 20th peaceful march in exercising the opinion in mind, in action, and what Kenyans are undergoing.
Yeah.
I want to state, as the woman representative of Homa Bay County, this nation is hungry, and there is no question about it.
Yes. Come on.
My second contribution, we were gladly advised by the Vice President that business will run as usual. Who stopped the business?
Yeah,
Who told the people to close the business? Nobody advised anybody to close the banks, to shut down the hospitals, to shut down anywhere. Nobody did that statement. Why did Kenyans choose to close? Number three, nobody said that all Kenyans in the 47 countries are going to march to State House. I have heard members contribute that people dressed up in a state that they were going to take over from State House. Myself, I was in white. And I wanted to march peacefully because I represent the youths. I represent the hungry women. I represent the PWDs. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to tell you that I was told
She's a youth.
I am a woman and I'm representing all of them. I am on the floor, Mr. Speaker, sir, can you protect me? I do not want interference.
Order. What's your point of order, Honorable Maya?
Excuse me.
Honorable Bensouda, a moment.
Point of order.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, while I consider it as an insult to the youth of this country, the age that is put in the website for Honorable Bensouda is about 35 years.
Order.
We would like
Order, Honorable Maya, order. Honorable members, order. Order. Proceed, Honorable Bensouda, proceed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for protecting me. No wonder even the 2/3 gender rule cannot go through in this house. When I'm making substantive statements, and I think he was sleeping, I talked about representation. I didn't talk about youths. Mr. Speaker, sir, I personally witnessed, because I closely navigated this city on that day. I began by the University of Nairobi, the world-class university where I went, and there was heavy firearms at those gates, a conducive which cannot encourage learning. I want to say that when I moved around Kibra and all other areas, it was armed policemen and tear gassing. Is that what we call security? Is that what we call peaceful demonstration? I want to tell you, Mr. Speaker, sir, we miss concepts, and this country must be brought to order. We want leaders to be fair to the nation. We want leaders to be honest to the situation. When I walked into Parliament, personally I've taken fruits. There is somebody who had not taken fruits, even for a whole year. Personally, there is a cafeteria there. I have eaten. The people who are demonstrating outside did not see even any form of food on their table. We will not take serious matters into jokes. It is a high time we must raise up and work as leaders of this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Order. I think the time is up. The time is up. Order. Honorable Sioi, followed by Honorable Korere. The Speaker has to look at a number of divides, diversity, regional, party, female, male. Order. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me a chance to support this motion by Abraham Kirwa. And I've heard it clearly that my fellow MPs are complaining of the cost of living. Mr. Speaker, we don't expect a price of unga to be 70 shillings while we bought fertilizer at 7,000 shillings. The input was so expensive, and the maize that we are eating at the moment is the very same product from the high cost of production that the members of parliament who are complaining here were in that parliament, in the 12th parliament. You guys were in the government. You were with, yes, you were there. So let us not politicize what cannot be politicized. We cannot continue politicizing what cannot be politicized.
What's your point of order, Honorable Miriam Odhiambo?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I do apologize for my sister for interrupting her, because I don't like interrupting my sisters when they are speaking. Order. But having said that, Mr. Speaker, is the honorable member in order to be calling us guys, especially given the debate that members have been preoccupied with about guys and women and cross-cutting issues about men and men and women. Mr. Speaker, you cannot call me a guy. I am straight. I have nothing against LGBTQI, but I am very straight. My husband is a man and I'm a woman. Don't call me a guy, please.
All right, I apologize.
Proceed, Madam Sui.
Thank you. So, what I was trying to put across is that the price was raised during the 12th parliament, and we have to continue until we finish the maize that we planted with high cost. That is one. Number two, we are talking about cost of living going high. There is no one in this house, Mr. Speaker, who doesn't know that the price of fuel went high. Automatically, it is the reason as to why the cost of living has gone high. Mr. Speaker, is it right, Mr. Speaker, for Honorable Member Raila Omolo Odinga to demand that unga? I'm asking a question. I'm asking a question.
Proceed.
Is it right for him to demand?
What? Order. Yes, what's your point of order? Yeah.
You have just ruled a while ago that we should not actually be able to talk of somebody who cannot defend himself in this house. It is not even 5 minutes ago, Mr. Speaker, when you said that. So what is the honorable member implying? Are they on politics of vengeance, or they are there here to prosecute serious matters, Mr.
Honorable Sir, proceed.
Thank you. My question was, I don't think it is right for us to say that we want the cost of unga to be at 70 when we planted using fertilizer that it is at 7,000 shillings. Another point, and that was during the handshake. Another point I want to bring across is the members of parliament were elected to come and defend or speak on behalf of the constituencies. Why are we involving our electorates to go to the streets when you are here and you are not fighting for them? You are not fighting for the cost of living to be low. Because I've not seen anybody bring a motion. It is today that I saw Honorable Kagiri coming up with a motion stating that we have to ensure that the cost of electricity goes low because of the cost of living. No one has come with such a motion to ensure that we are bringing the cost of living down. So, members of parliament from opposition, we are urging you, please bring the issue in the house. Let us debate here. Mr. Speaker, my friend Honorable Mili, we want to Kimbiana inside here. Please, let us not Kimbiana out there. Order. And we are here.
Order. Honorable Korere, Sarah Korere, followed by Honorable Murugara. Order.
you, Speaker. Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I also want to add my voice to this. And Speaker, you know, I don't know whether there is security that matters to some regions and security does not matter to some regions. Because I seriously, when people are saying Nairobi is under attack, yes, we want the properties and the people of Nairobi to be safe. But, Honorable Speaker, I was watching from the comfort of my sitting room the demonstrations. And picketing by constitution is given. And if Kenyans want to express themselves peacefully, so why don't they? And Mr. Speaker, the prowess at which the police were attacking those demonstrators, I sat down and I thought, why can the same police tackle the insecurity in northern Kenya in the same prowess? Well, Honorable Speaker, you know there are some small boys picketing and some few old men, you know, the people who cannot even scare a rat from a hole. And Honorable Speaker, the kind of things we saw displayed by the Kenyan police leaves me wondering, is it really true that they have been unable to combat the insecurity in central Kenya? Where, Mr. Speaker, about 50 bandits, you know, northern Kenya, about 50 bandits have brought the police, the army, name them, the GSU, into a standstill. And Honorable Speaker, honestly speaking, you know Kenyans are watching us. And Kenyans are wondering, did they send us to this house to come and call each other names? Honorable Speaker, from where I sit, I was in Azimio. And honorable members in Azimio, I will say this because I must say, when you refuse to win elections, please deal with your matter. You know, Speaker, yes, when you refuse, because if you have known that in Kenya, for you to win elections, you must steal. You should have invested in stealing the election. Honorable Speaker, and you know, Speaker, no, relax, hold your horses, members. Honorable Speaker, you know, as a mother, my heart goes out for the woman whose son was killed in Maseno. It should not have happened. It should never happen. But Honorable Speaker, if demonstrations has to continue on Monday, we have to propose a few things that they have to list down to add, so that we can also think whether we can join those demonstrations. And Honorable Speaker, I want to say, because you said people should not, you know, name people in this house who cannot defend themselves. I am a Jubilee member, and my party leader Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, defuncto. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, in 1992, there were demonstrations in this country. In 2007, there were demonstrations in this country. In 2013, there were demonstrations in this country. In 2017, there were demonstrations in this country. For anybody to accuse Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta of sponsoring those demonstrations, you must be suffering from something we need to interrogate later. Because, Honorable Speaker, he could not have sponsored demonstrations against his own government. So I want to plead with the leaders. Much as we want to play to the gallery, much as you want to address I don't know who, much as you want to support the government, please don't also become a praise and worship choir just to say things so that some people will hear you've said things. And Mheshimiwa Speaker,
what's your point of order, Honorable Ichung'wah Kimani?
Honorable Speaker, no, I'm keenly listening to the member for Laikipia North. And she purports that Uhuru Kenyatta has been accused of being the sponsor. And I referred to a sponsor. I referred to a sponsor in my speech, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, unless the member for Laikipia North is now substantiating further what I should have substantiated, that indeed the sponsor of these demonstrations is none other than the former Jubilee Party leader and former Azimio chair, Honorable Speaker. Two, Honorable Speaker, because I said I was keenly listening to her. The member for Laikipia has also said that there are 50 bandits terrorizing people in the north. Maybe we would also benefit the security agencies in this country if she knows there are actually 50 bandits. Probably she knows those 50 bandits and where they are. Because, Honorable Speaker, you cannot speak as a point of fact, as a statement of fact, that she stated as a statement of fact that there are 50 bandits. Number two.
Order. Majority Leader, please take your seat. Order. What order? The member who was speaking is already time exhausted. Order. No. Order. What's your point of order, Honorable Salasia? What's your point of order?
This thing. Yes. Now, Speaker, Madam Speaker, we have had the majority leader, Bwana Ichunga, talking here. In fact, for his information.
No, order. That's not the point of order. Order. Honorable Murugara.
Thank you. Sit down. Thank you very much.
What is your point of order, Honorable Salasia? Proceed. What's your point of order?
He's not sure whether he's a man or a woman. Yeah, so I was commenting on this issue, the conduct of the majority leader in this house. The majority leader has missed to have facts to table before this house to substantiate that indeed that is Uhuru Kenyatta who is supporting, who is funding us. We are only the Kenyans because this house has failed to address the issues. So we are going to deal with the Maandamano whether he likes or not.
Proceed, Honorable Murugara.
Thank you.
Order, Honorable Murugara, followed by Honorable Rosa Buyu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. This is exciting. As the excitement continues to grow, we debate this. So, Speaker, sir, I've listened to the rhetorical questions that are being asked by especially the other side, both in law and in fact, as regards the demonstrations we had on Monday. One such rhetorical question is whether the demonstrations were actually lawful. Everybody knows what the Constitution says. We also know the qualifications it gives. Therefore, we as much know the answers to the rhetorical questions we are asking. Number one, before the demonstrations took place, we were told the demonstrators would storm State House. Which part of the Constitution or law was that in compliance with? We were also warned profusely that we were not to come to town on that day unless we were participating in the demonstrations. Again, we are asking, which part of the law was that one? Then we were told on that particular day, you open your businesses at your own peril, because if you sell water on that day, please note, if you are not selling, you are giving us for free. If you're selling sodas on that day, you're not selling, you are giving us for free. Now, the question is this, is that lawful? Would we be giving our merchandise to demonstrators for no pay? Isn't that looting? So we were warned up front that these demonstrations would not be peaceful, as a result of which most of the Kenyans kept out of town, most of the Kenyans were not able to go to job, and what happened was those demonstrators who wanted to cause chaos and violence came to town. We all saw them. They were actually armed, and nobody is refusing that, because we would see them pelting policemen with stones. Is that peaceful? Can that be said to be within the parameters of the law, the Constitution, and the statutes that deal with picketing? Let's not deceive ourselves. If this is what is going to continue, we have no problem. But we will continue to commend the police for doing a good job, because they will actually reiterate, and they will deal with those who are causing chaos and violence with all the means they are given under the law to execute that. Number two, 3 reasons are being given by the demonstrators or their leaders. That number 1, we have to open the servers. The question is, I sat in the Supreme Court when an express order was made that to the requirement of the petitioners, the servers would be opened. They were opened, the court made a report, and there was absolutely nothing to falter. What else are we trying to search in those servers? Number 2, the second point that is being raised is high cost of living. And we agree, the cost of living is high. But this did not happen 6 months ago. It has happened over the years. We should be sitting down to know the cost of the high cost of living and the various methods we can use to actually ameliorate that situation. One of them is reduce the cost of input when it comes to production, so that you are able to get better prices. Instead of doing so, we are being told, go to the streets, and tomorrow the president will stand up and say, price of unga is 70 shillings. We may have to live a little bit longer before such a pronouncement is made. The third point being raised is IEBC, that unless we are able to structure IEBC, there will be demonstrations. IEBC is provided for by the Constitution. Number 2, we have a statute, the IEBC Act. The appointments that are taking place are in strict compliance with what that law says. How can we then fault a law which we have put into place unless we want ourselves to overthrow our own rule of law? Actually, these demonstrations are not bona fides. They are political. They are what we are calling economic sabotage, because some people feel the only way to try and ruin the government we have today is by doing what they are doing today. They should be condemned, and the police should be enabled to deal with those demonstrations the way the law provides. So I do support that motion.
The Honorable Rosa Buyu, followed by Honorable Naomi Wako. Order, order. Oh.
Mr. Speaker, you've already begun counting on my time, and there's still conversation going on.
Rosa Buyu.
Mr. Speaker, I want to take this a little more seriously. The young man of 20 years, William Wamanje, though from Kisii, is actually a student in Maseno University, which falls within my constituency, Kisumu West. That young boy lost his life, and he did not have to die. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, when my office visited, Mr. Speaker, when my office visited, Mr. Speaker, when my office visited the Maseno police station yesterday.
Honorable Rosa Buyu is going to be heard in silence. Order, honorable members. Proceed, honorable.
When my office visited Maseno police station yesterday, the information they got from the police, the OCS, was appalling. Mr. Speaker, what the OCS said was there were demonstrations in Kisumu town, and so they ferried 3/4 of their men, the police, to Kisumu to quell the demonstrations. When the Maseno University students got out to demonstrate peacefully, and the police decided to use Mr. Speaker, in the long run, what the police said was they had no more tear gas, and they had to resort to live bullets. Mr. Speaker, what happened to rubber bullets? Why must you go to a demonstration with live bullets if not with the intention to kill? Mr. Speaker, Article 37 clearly allows every citizen of this country an opportunity to picket and demonstrate if they so wish. Mr. Speaker, the only people who are armed in these demonstrations are the police. Mr. Speaker,
Order, honorable members. Honorable Rosa Buyu, let her take her message across. You will have your moment. Don't interject.
Mr. Speaker, the motion before us today is worried about nothing else but money. But the demonstrations were not just worried about money. The demonstrations are about people. People who sleep hungry days on end. People who are lied to during campaigns that they would have pockets full of money and they would have tables full of food as soon as the new regime came into power. Only to discover that they sleep hungry every day. Those are the people who are out on the streets. Mr. Speaker, the demonstrations that you saw yesterday were about Kenyans. Kenyans asking for equitable distribution of opportunities within government amongst 42 tribes of this country, so that not only 2 tribes get involved or get employed within those opportunities.
What's your point of order, Honorable Ichungwa?
Honorable Speaker, I empathize with the Honorable Rosa Buyu. But Honorable Speaker, we cannot use the floor of this House to whip up emotions. Yes. And it is a fact that a student of Maseno University was shot dead, and it is also a fact, as has been reported, that young man was shot during the Monday demonstrations.
Order.
It has been stated, Honorable Speaker, because it is one thing to say that...
What is out of order?
What is out of order, Mr. Speaker, is when a member rises in his place and purports to be speaking...
Order, Honorable Chunga, order. Proceed, Honorable Rosabuya, finish.
Mr. Speaker.
Order.
Thank you for protecting me.
You will have your moments.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for protecting me from Honorable Ishungwa, because even when I'm not in this house, he says he is so embarrassed, he's so astonished. Where is Rosa Buyu? Mr. Speaker, I'd like to inform him I am here. This is Rosa Buyu. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, he's already taken my time and you must give me 1 minute. I plead with you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker,
you will have no minute, but proceed.
These elections, these demonstrations...
Order. Rosa, you've run out of your time. The Honorable Naomi Wako, followed by the MP for Teso South. Order.
The mic.
The MP for Teso South. Order. Order, Honorable Minute, you will have your moment. Order, please. Order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for allowing me to add my voice to this very important motion of adjournment, which we all need to contribute because it has affected the lives of Kenyans. It has affected our businesses. It has affected our economy in a very serious way. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have always witnessed demonstration by the opposition. But this time round, I wonder why they are doing it now, because we are only 6 months old, and it is quite clear that they lost the election and lost completely. They would have just waited for another 5 years for them to vie and win the election if that is what they want. But this time, our government and our president is working so hard to recover and to revive the economy that was destroyed in their hands. Today, when they call people to demonstrate in your regime, under the handshake regime, which you participated fully, everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. You destroyed our economy. You destroyed everything that Kenya had during that time.
The MP for Migori. Woman Rep, order. Order, please. Order. Proceed. Proceed.
You participated in the Uhuru regime.
Proceed.
So, Mr. Speaker, sir, the demonstration organized was just to destroy our economy, was just to frustrate our government, and I'm here to tell them that our government is strong enough and we will never bow down. And if you think that the practice that has always given you, the handshake, whatever, the nusu mukate, this time round you will not get it. This time round you will not get it. Because we understand, we know very well, during the daytime, they go on the streets, they encourage people to demonstrate, and during the night, they come to us to negotiate. We will never give in. Mr. Speaker, protect me, Mr. Speaker. Protect me, because they may have carried the stones in here. And so, Mr. Speaker, our economy was fully destroyed by these people. And today, they want to bring the same nonsense to the parliament. Because we are trying to talk about that. We are trying to correct the mistake they have made. We are trying to tell people the mistake and the destruction they have caused. And they are shouting, they are pointing fingers, they are standing up as if they are on the street.
What's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I want to know whether...
Order.
I want to know whether...
Order. The Honorable Naomi Wako and all other members of parliament, please address the chair. Address the chair. Don't address yourselves across the aisle. If you have such a burning, issues to raise, and they're very powerful points, you will have your moment. Most of you are going to get time. We have ample time. Order. MP for Cliffy South. Order. The MP for Teso South, followed by the Emilio Riambo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this very important motion. And I think from the onset, I want to say that I support it. And I want to encourage honorable members that let us debate soberly on a matter that is so important, like the one we are debating on. And let's separate it from emotions. Mr. Speaker, when I was coming to Nairobi yesterday from my constituency, I almost lost my flight because of the strikes at Maseno University. And I think as a mother, my sympathy and condolences go to the family that lost their son as a result of the demonstrations. So this is not a matter that we should take lightly. If there were no demonstrations, that boy would not have died. So we must also learn to take responsibility. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, we are a policy makers, and we have a role to play to contribute towards bringing down that cost of living. So whereas we're talking about high cost of living, and we agree, it has taken a toll, particularly on the low-income households, and especially the hustlers in this country. But is Maandamano going to be the solution? Is picketing going to solve the issue of the high cost of living? There are other options, alternatives, motions, bills, and the budget that we have just approved in the policy statement, that we can channel resources towards programs that are going to improve on the economy and thereby bring down the cost of living. Honorable members, picketing can be done. It is there provided for in the Constitution, Article 37. But can it be done peacefully without interrupting and disrupting the same economy we are claiming that the high cost of living? On Monday, what happened sadly? This country registered low productivity. On that Monday, there are people in those demonstrations who depend on their daily endeavors, depend on their casual work because they live from hand to mouth. They went home and slept hungry because they were engaged in the demonstrations. On that Monday, businesses were disrupted in this country. And on that Monday, the people who depend on services, deliveries, delayed services across the country. So this is not a joking matter. There are many other ways we can address this issue. These issues do not only affect the proponents of the Maandamano. The issues affecting this country affect all of us. And this is our country, we live in it. So if we destroy Kenya today, then are we going to run to another country? Is there another country that we have beside this country? So let us debate this issue soberly. I agree with you, but there are even people who have suffered, besides even dying, there are people who suffered injuries as a result of the demonstrations. So demonstrations is not the solution. And at this juncture, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the people of Busia County and to appreciate them for ignoring the calls for Maandamano. And they continued with their normal business as if nothing was happening. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
The Millie Odhiambo, Mheshimiwa, followed by the Mheshimiwa Kalasinga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, let me take this opportunity to send my condolences to the family of William Mayange, who was killed in Maseno. Mr. Speaker, even as we speak in this house, there is a family that is grieving, and you can never recover a lost child. So I just want to say pole to the family of William for the loss, unnecessary loss of a youthful life. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya says all sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya and shall be exercised only in accordance with the Constitution. And Article 1(2) says the people may exercise their sovereign power either directly or through elected representative. And Mr. Speaker, one of the members who was speaking, my dear friend who I interrupted as she was speaking, was saying that we speak here and we should not speak outside and we should not let our representatives speak. I want to educate her that Article 1(2) of the Constitution gives that right, that we can exercise our mandate directly. And when we demonstrate, we are exercising it directly. So we cannot be having tyranny in the house. We can also have tyranny outside the house. Mr. Speaker, I also just want to say that Article 37, and I want to agree with members across the divide, and I want to thank Honorable Muya for speaking very soberly and saying that Article 37 allows for picketing and peaceful picketing. And I want to say both our side and their side are saying the same language. Let us have picketing which is allowed under Article 37 with no condition, because the Constitution does not give condition except peaceable picketing. And Mr. Speaker, in peaceable picketing, the mandate lies with the police. The citizen of Kenya does not have arms. Mr. Speaker, those who maintain peace and order are the police. Mr. Speaker, I also want to say that those who are killed, as we have heard from the boy who was killed in Maseno, was killed by the police. And I also want to add that when the business community restrained from doing their business, they restrained from doing their business because of fear-mongering by people like my good friend, who I don't want to mention lest he can stay a point of order. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that those who close their businesses close because of fear-mongering. And we know my friend who does fear-mongering. Mr. Speaker, because I know other members want to speak, I want to say this. I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving this House direction that it is actually wrong for us to be mentioning other people who are not here and calling them names, like regrettably my good friend Honorable Chungwa called Honorable Raila an urban terrorist. Mr. Speaker, if it weren't for your order, I could also have called Honorable Ruto national terrorist, but because of your order, I'm not calling him a national terrorist, Mr. Speaker. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that my good friend Honorable Chungwa must tell us whether he's also of the LGBTQ community because of his preoccupation with Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. That guy is a man, bwana. Don't be too preoccupied with Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta.
Honorable Millie Odhiambo, Honorable Miri Odhiambo, order. You cannot discuss the conduct of Honorable Ichung'wah without a substantive motion. So you're out of order on that. Order. Come. Honorable Ichung'wah, if we desist, order. If we desist, order. Honorable Mbaya, when the chair is on its feet. Order. I mean, we want to have a situation in which everybody is heard in silence. Whether you don't like it, whether it's outrageous, whatever it is, unless it's absolutely out of the order, the orderly running of the business of the House, just wait. When you get your moment, rebut. You know what I mean? You get your moment, you can then say the counter and give your counter argument. But if you keep on saying order, point of order, order, Miri. Can we have the next speaker, Honorable Karasinga? Order. Are you on a point of order, Muhammad Ali? Is it absolutely necessary? Okay, proceed, Honorable Ichung'wah.
First, Honorable Speaker, let me thank you for protecting me, because the Honorable Mili was on the verge now of discussing me without a substantive motion. But more importantly, Honorable Speaker, it is important to point out, and maybe she was not listening to what I said, because if you listen to what I said at the beginning, I indicated when I mentioned about economic terrorism and urban banditry, I said what I have described elsewhere as economic banditry and economic terrorism, Honorable Speaker. Number two, Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Mili, as much as you have ruled her out of order, must then withdraw what she has said and apologize to the House.
Because Majority Leader, you made your point. Honorable Karasinga, followed by the MP for Wajir South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Order.
Mr. Speaker.
Proceed.
Mr. Speaker.
Proceed.
I am touched, Mr. Speaker. And the touching the Speaker I've had today is that if our friends, Mr. Speaker, who led the demonstration cannot be satisfied with the loss of life that we had, Mr. Speaker, and they are calling for others on Monday, how many liters, Mr. Speaker, how many liters of blood do they want to see so that they stop this nonsense of demonstrating and testing life in this country? Mr. Speaker, if we have to bring down the demands they have given us, Mr. Speaker, it's very okay. We have no problem with it. But Mr. Speaker, if for example, I was a candidate for Kabuchai, I floored a person. If that person goes to ask me to open the server, where do I get it? Where do I get the Speaker? Raila Odinga, Mr. Speaker, must tell us the truth. Honorable William Samoei Ruto does not have servers to open. Number two, Mr. Speaker, when we want prices of food to come down, prices of food was 250, Mr. Speaker. In the last regime, they were keeping quiet. We have moved it down to 170. They are making noise, Mr. Speaker. Where do we want? And Mr. Speaker, finally, how do we bring down the price of food? If we don't go to the farm, we stay on the road picketing and demonstrating. Now rains has come, and rains has come, we must go to the farms. Mr. Speaker, the last word I can say, if you lead demonstrations and you cannot control them, and you cannot control the thuggery they do, I can refer to him again, Honorable Raila, as a street robber who is causing problems in this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order. Okay, the Honorable MP from Wajir South, followed by Honorable Kaluma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much. It's not working. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this motion of adjournment. I think for the last couple of hours we've been treated to heated arguments on the floor of the House. where we've observed the sides of the House sticking to their guns. But I believe when it comes to the debate on these demonstrations, we need to take a step back and look at actually what is at stake at this point in time and at this point in Kenya's history. Yes, the cost of living is very high. Yes, we have so many problems, and Kenyans have every right to picket and demonstrate. But what the question I want to pose is it actually the right time to demonstrate when our economy is suffering, when we need to lower the cost of living, when we need to do much to fix what is a sorry state of our economy? I come from a business community that suffered a lot during Monday's demonstrations. And we lost one Kenyan's life. I would like all of us to think critically about where our country is at this point in time. And let patriotism reign. I have covered demonstrations and riots and street demos and all kinds of picketing in many parts of the world as a journalist. There are many ways to show your dissatisfaction. But stopping business in two of the most important business districts in the country at this time when we need to fix our economy, I believe, is not being patriotic. And again, responsible opposition requires matters be dealt with in institutions like this one. I would therefore like to appeal to my party, Azimio, to rethink these demonstrations for the sake of Kenya and Kenyans at this critical time when we need to do a lot. And I just want to point out one thing, Mr. Speaker. Where was the dollar rate on Monday, and where is it today? I rest my case. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Kamket, followed by the Honorable Muhammad Ali. Order, you're allowed. Proceed. Okay. The Honorable Kamket. What is happening? Why don't you go to somewhere where there's...
Thank you, Mr.
Order.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, the Republic of Kenya, the country by the name the Republic of Kenya, is a creature of the law. The Parliament of the Republic of Kenya is a creature of the law. The standing orders that we follow in this House are part of our laws. Mr. Speaker, the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya directs any question as to the validity of the election of the President to the Supreme Court of the Republic of Kenya. That question was comprehensively addressed at the Supreme Court of Kenya. Any question, Mr. Speaker, as to the validity of election of any member of Parliament has been addressed or are being addressed at the High Court, and so on and so on. Mr. Speaker, listening to the demands made by the opposition, Mr. Speaker, the demands to open servers should have been made at the Supreme Court. They made those demands and they were proved wrong. Mr. Speaker, the demands about the IEBC are demands that are beyond, that are ultra-vires the law. Mr. Speaker, we are not related in this country. We are Kenyans by law. I come from the Pokot community. I am not related in any way to any person from another community except by law. And if we are related by act of marriage, it's customary law, Mr. Speaker. So therefore, Mr. Speaker, for the opposition, Mr. Speaker, to demand that we do anything outside the law is to be anarchists. The behavior, Mr. Speaker, by the leaders of the demonstrations and the demonstrators themselves is nothing other than an act of anarchy. And Mr. Speaker, if that is what they want, Mr. Speaker, they must be prepared for what the police will serve them. Because the police of the Republic of Kenya, the job of the police, Mr. Speaker, is to keep the law. And anarchy anywhere is anarchy everywhere, Mr. Speaker. There can be no law, Mr. Speaker. As we speak, Mr. Speaker, as I speak right now, Mr. Speaker, there is curfew in where I come from. And many sub-counties in the North Rift because of the behavior of some people. Mr. Speaker, if the law applies to us in the North Rift, it must apply to these anarchists in town. The same law, Mr. Speaker, that applies to us in the North Rift must apply to those people whose aim and whose all aim, Mr. Speaker, is to come and destroy the properties of the people of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, if the cost of living is indeed high, as indeed it is high, Mr. Speaker, we cannot come and start destroying the property of Kenyans because of the high cost of living.
For Budalangi, what is your point of order?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order.
You have clearly heard Honorable Kamket insinuating that what was happening in Nairobi is comparing to people who are carrying guns in the villages, terrorizing people. And here is a constitution, people following constitution, picketing, demonstration is enshrined in the constitution. It's banditry enshrined in the constitution.
Order. The chair, Raphael, order. The chair does not rule on the basis of insinuations. Order. You have to be very specific. Proceed, Kamket. You have run out of time, Kamket, unfortunately. Unfortunately, you have run out of time. Muhammad Ali, followed by Kaluma.
Shukran sana, Mheshimiwa Spika. Nimeona hisia tofauti kutoka kwa wabunge.
Order.
Lakini nataka kwanza kuzungumzia kijana aliyeuawa. Tangu mimi kuzaliwa, na Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi na umri wa miaka 41. Katika taifa hili ni mtu mmoja peke yake huitisha maandamano. Na haya maandamano si ya amani. Katika kila maandamano lazima mtoto wa watu afe. Hawa watu wanaoitisha maandamano ni wale walifanya zile salamu za check, wakasalimiana, wakapeana pesa, wakapandisha bei ya unga hadi 230. Sasa wanakuja kutufunza sisi vile ambavyo tutaendesha hii nchi. Ni lazima Raila Odinga aambiwe ukweli kinaga ubaga. Waswahili wanasema mgema akisifiwa tembo ulitia maji. Raila Odinga lake amelitia maji na hatutakubali haribu nchi hii. Miaka 41 tutakuwa tukiitisha maandamano. Haya maandamano yanazuia wafanyabiashara kufanya kazi yao. Haya maandamano, Mheshimiwa Spika, naomba unipe na unilinde na unipe fursa niendelee kuzungumza. Leo nimetaja Mungu wenu, lakini ukweli mtaambiwa.
Honorable members. Honorable Muhammad Ali, I had given a previous ruling here in which I said, avoid imputing improper motives as much as possible to people who cannot defend themselves here. You can get your message across without mentioning names. Proceed, Honorable Muhammad Ali.
Shukrani sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Unajua kuna watu Mungu wao akitaja hawatulii. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, yale ambayo nataka kusema ni kwamba nchi hii Rais William Ruto ameshika usukani juzi. Ni miezi misita, hata mimba haingii, mtoto akazaliwa kwa miezi miwili. Ni lazima mpatie rais aliye mamlakani nafasi ya kuongoza hii nchi. Hii nchi imeharibiwa na wale ambao wanaitisha haya maandamano. Juzi tumepoteza pesa katika taifa hili. Watoto wameuawa kule Kisumu. Na ajabu ni kwamba Kenya nzima ni sehemu mbili tu inafanya maandamano. Mbona Mombasa hawana shida? Mbona Central hawana shida? Mbona Northeastern hawana shida? Mbona Western hawana shida? Ni kwa nini ni lazima iwe ni Kisumu, Kibira na hapa Embakasi? Mheshimiwa Spika, tumechoka kama viongozi. Ni lazima hii Kenya iendeshwe katika njia ya haki, katika njia ya kikatiba. Hatutakubali muungano haramu, muungano wa kusumbua wananchi kila siku. Biashara haziwezi fanyika, watu hawezi tembea na amani. Unataka, angalieni Afrika Kusini, wameomba wafanye maandamano. Jifunzeni kutoka kwa wale. Jifunzeni kutoka kwa wale. Sio kuingia barabarani, kupora mali ya watu, kupiga watu, kuumiza watu, alafu mnakuja kusema mtatuongezea maandamano iwe Jumatatu na Alhamisi. Hii nchi iko na serikali, hii nchi iko na Wakenya, hii nchi iko na sheria, na hiyo sheria ni lazima ifuatwe. Hatutakubali tena. Sikiza tena vizuri. Sikiza, usipige kelele kwa mambo ambayo huelewi. Sikiza vizuri. Hatutakubali tena akili ndogo kutawala akili kubwa ndani ya jamhuri hii. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Order. Honorable Kaluma. Order.
Yeah, I thank you.
The MP for
the
MP for Tiana West. Order. After Honorable Kaluma. Proceed.
I thank you. I thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Mutunga, you are after the Honorable Kaluma.
Honorable Speaker, I'm grateful to you for presiding over this important subject. Honorable Speaker, I wanted to remind ourselves. Honorable Speaker, I wanted to remind ourselves that. Please, may I make my contributions?
Order. Honorable members, Honorable Kaluma will be heard in silence. Honorable member, member for Migori Town, Migori County. Order. Honorable Fatuma. Order. Honorable member for Migori County and your neighbor, please wait your moment to give your positions. You will have a moment. Yeah.
I thank you. Honorable members, allow me to make my point.
Proceed, Honorable Kaluma.
Honorable Speaker, I wanted to remind this House that these great leaders we are talking about were members of Parliament at some point in time like us. A time like this, Honorable Ruto was seated somewhere there or here. Honorable Raila was seated somewhere there or here. I can tell you Kenyatta was seated somewhere here. So I wanted to request all of us that at a time like this, no, the nation is looking at us and let us give leadership.
Honorable Meli, order. Honorable Meli and a few members of Parliament, If you keep on shouting across the aisle, I will do the needful. Proceed.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, because I want to be a leader now, let me only quote some provisions of the law. On national security organs, Honorable Speaker, I request the members to hear what Article 239, sub-article 3 says. It says, in performing their functions and exercising their powers, the national security organs and every member of the national security organs shall not act in a partisan manner, shall not further any interest of a political party or cause, or prejudice a political interest or political cause that is legitimate under this Constitution. I leave the members to think about what else I'm saying. Honorable Speaker, at Article 239, sub-article 5,
Owembaya, listen,
says,
honorable member, please. Proceed.
I'm reading the Constitution.
Kaluma,
Let me read. No, you are a leader. You are a leader. You are a leader.
Order. Proceed, Honorable Kaluma.
Honorable Speaker, may I continue?
Yeah, continue.
Article 239, sub-article 5 says, the national security organs are subordinate to civilian authority. Honorable Speaker, let me also read Article 245, sub-article 2B. It is not my work to read for you.
What's your point of order? Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, he is deliberately avoiding to read 4. A person shall not establish a military or a paramilitary.
Order. MP for Kilifi South. Madam Gogo. Order. Okay, order, honorable members. The chair is chairing the session. It's not allowed for you to talk across. It doesn't matter whether he's your son or he's your nephew or he's your husband. It doesn't make any difference. He's a member of parliament and you're a member of parliament. Honorable member, when somebody chooses to read certain articles of the Constitution, it is his choice. You are order. You don't tell him that he avoided this. You can rise up on your own moment and read the one that he has avoided. Order, proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I hope my time was not running. Honorable Speaker, in terms of the command of the police, this is what Article 245, sub-article 2B says, that the Inspector General shall exercise independent command over the National Police Service and perform any other functions prescribed by national legislation. Honorable Speaker, I don't want to take a political or partisan side over this matter. But Honorable Speaker, I woke up in the morning, and this is important to me.
Continue.
I'm bothered when every time there is a demonstration announced by any group, the police go and surround a place like Kibra. Beforehand, I wanted to request you members, those are the people in Kenya who are living hand to mouth. What do you want those people to do when they wake up planning to go and fend for themselves and you have barricaded all roads? How do they take their children to school? How do they live with their families in those tear gas we push there? The struggle we are having is which side should be supporting the police, Honorable Owen Baya. It is not our duty, it should be independent. What was that boy of Maseno University carrying? Was he armed or what was there? I want to request that a time comes when we need to talk as leaders. the problem we are dealing with is caused by this parliament, and that is why I'm saying we need to reflect. Let us reflect, members, how electoral commissions are established across the world and question whether this model is working. Ask yourselves what happened in 1997 under IPPG. What elections did it give us? What elections did it give us in 2002? What was the referendum in 2005? What happened when President Kibaki, relying on the law as we are seeking to do now, created the commission unilaterally for the 2007 election?
The MP for Tigania.
Anyways, thank you, Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity. Honourable Speaker, protect me from the likes of Wajala who are making noise.
Order. Proceed.
Thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this motion. Hello. Honourable Speaker. Okay, Honourable Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to add my voice to this.
Order.
Honourable Speaker.
Order. Proceed.
What is out of order, Honourable Speaker?
Proceed, Honourable.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, we are discussing a matter of national importance. Most of us here, Honourable Speaker, are vilifying a very important issue. Honourable Speaker, in this country, one person by the name Raila Umechokesha has never organized a peaceful demonstration. Even when he was trying to say that he'll do one this time around, we knew for sure he is going to organize a chaotic one. Honourable Speaker, I wonder where picketing involves removing, destroying the infrastructure. I wonder where picketing involves people fighting the police. Honourable Speaker, we have a constitutional law in this country and we have a law enforcement agency. Those who produce the constitution and the laws of Kenya must have known that there is need for enforcement at some point. That is why we have the police protecting the Kenyans and Kenyan businesses. When we have people's lives being lost in such incidences, Honourable Speaker, we should be asking ourselves one question. Supposing the rest of Kenya rises up, supposing everybody rises up in this country and decides to fight for themselves, where would these few people be? They should know that they lost the election because they are few. If you are just so few and you lost the election, you have always lost the election in this country. That person should have lost hope. What we need to advise Raila Umechokesha is that he should lose hope because he has lost the election every time. There is not a single time he has won. Every time you pretend you have won and he has never won. So we better say the truth here. And he should take it from us that the only way Kenyans will go is through the ballot and through an election. There is no negotiation. There cannot be a negotiation for a family. If Raila Odinga was really democratic, would we have his brother in parliament and a sister in parliament? Would we have a son, his daughter in the East African parliament? Would we have all that? What kind of democracy is that, Honourable Speaker? What democracy is that? Is that what you want to teach the other Kenyans? Is that what you want us to believe? We cannot believe that. Kenyans will not do what Raila wants. And even if he rolls on the road, he will have to wait for 5 years for another election. We are not going to be allowing some of these things to be good.
Order. Honourable Memusi, what's your point of order? Order. Honourable Speaker, I'm able to reply on this.
Honourable Speaker, this is a house. This is a house of rules.
Order. Yes, Honourable Memuse, you are on a point of order.
Speaker, this is
okay. The Honourable Waluke can now.
This
say.
is
Are you on a point of order?
Yeah.
Yes, what's your point of order, Honourable Memuse?
Speaker, this is a house of rules, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
And the only way we can debate in an orderly manner.
He is on a point of order.
The only way, Mr. Speaker, we can debate in an orderly manner is if we follow the rules.
Absolutely.
That you rule on that seat.
Yeah.
You have stated here that nobody should mention names of those who cannot defend themselves here.
Mr. Speaker, please, if that is a ruling, please, if any member wants to debate, avoid mentioning names. We will debate on this issue on sober.
Order. Madams, we will have, who is your appointment? You are on a point of order on the speaker, and the speaker is standing. Order. Honorable members, if it is the public functions of anybody who is a public figure, that public function can be discussed, including the president. You can say the president sent the forces, did this, did that. The Honorable MP for Tigania West, you're a lawyer. What about you are Kiboret? I can forgive you because you're a first timer. You don't talk when the chair is on his feet. Order. Order. Listen. I am hesitating very much because of the interest in this thing for me to throw out many of you. But I'm sure one of these days somebody is going to do that. The point I'm trying to tell you is that I'm trying to educate you on how to use your mandate and practice it very well. You can discuss the public functions of any public member, any member of the public. The only thing you cannot discuss is private matters or her private matters. You can discuss the public functions of the president and say that he ruled this, he did this, it is wrong, you cannot, but then discuss that matters that are private. So if you just listen that, and for God's sake, if somebody says that a leader of the opposition organized these things and did this and this, it is perfectly in his right. And for you to be a dignified member of parliament, to behave like somebody out there in the crowds, the moment somebody's name is mentioned, you keep on shouting, it doesn't make any, it denigrates and lowers your own dignity as an individual. Nobody is the holder of the dignity of somebody else. You are the holder of your own dignity. The way you conduct yourself in the house here is what is going to make you the responsible, dignified leader Kenyans are looking for. And shouting does not include that. For God's sake, don't engage across. So, Honorable Member for, you have finished your time, in my opinion. It's Olukestan. Follow the order. Order. I'm on my feet. Order. I know your time has been taken, but that's unfortunately the nature of things. Order. Waluke is going to talk, and he's going to be followed by the MP for Taita Taveta. Order. And all of you will get, listen, honorable members, when somebody is on the chair here, he has to do quite a bit of balancing. Order. Fatuma, I have all along been restraining myself because you are not doing good. Please. Order, continue. MP Oluke.
Members. Kikaria.
Yeah, what's the point of order the MP for? But point of order on what? He has not started talking. On the ruling of the speaker. On the ruling of the speaker. I'm blind. Yes, Margaret, Kiboret.
Can you confirm whether we have the quorums, Mr. Speaker, sir?
Order. Yes, Kiboret, what's your point of order? What's your point of order, Kiboret?
Give
me the mic. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My point of order is we are forced to shout because you don't give us chance, and you first timers and women, you don't give us chance, and you have turned us into hecklers in this one. Mr. Speaker. Give us chance to...
Order. Proceed, Honorable MP for... Yes, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, you need to balance. If you have picked from the other side, those people from the other side again come and sit here, and you want to pick them the way you have picked Waluke. Waluke is on the other side. It is well known. So we need somebody from this side. Waluke is not ours.
Order, Waluke, continue.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me chance also to contribute on this.
Yes, something is escaping your mind, Mr. Speaker. The Honorable Member, Kip, has said you are blind. Who is the Kip? The Honorable, yes. Is he in order, Mr. Speaker, to try and imagine that the Speaker does not have eyes? And yet, Mr. Speaker, you want us to just forget about that, Mr. Speaker. Is he in order? I haven't heard. You should withdraw and apologize unless indeed you are blind, Mr. Speaker. Order. Kiboret. Honorable Kiboret. The one thing that is a crime that can never be forgiven in a floor of the House is for you to question the wisdom of the Speaker in running the House. Under the circumstances, you're going to stay out of the House for the remainder of the day. Proceed. Honorable Kiboret out. Yes, Honorable Member. Yes. Order.
Point of order. I said under our standing orders, point of order. The Speaker can be blind. But if a member brings the issue of the quorum, it is upon the Speaker to order the clerk to confirm whether we have a quorum.
Who has brought that?
I brought it.
Who has raised that? Who has raised that?
Point of order. Nobody.
Proceed, Honorable Waluke. Proceed, Honorable Waluke.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me chance also to contribute to this. Mr. Speaker, I want to remind my colleagues in this House that leadership come and go, but the country remains. We are making a lot of noise as members of Parliament instead of respecting the House and contribute on issues that can help the people whom we represent. Honorable Speaker, I am here today telling the people of Kenya that I'm a member of Azimio, as Wanjala say, a member of Jubilee. But, Mr. Speaker, I condemn the Maandamano that is affecting this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, whether I cross or not, this country is ours. Whether you are in opposition or whether you are on government side. Mr. Speaker, we need to respect this country. We need to support the government of the day because it is there until it is time when time ends. Mr. Speaker, for those who are making noise, I want to remind them that the government is there and we are supposed to, it is only one government and it is only one president of this country. Whether you make noise, whether you cry,
or whether you laugh. The president of the country is one, the country of Kenya is one, and all of us as members of parliament, we need to make noise when the election is nearing again. So with these issues that is going on, loss of properties of people, even some poor people losing their properties, losing life of our children, like the student of Maseno. Mr. Speaker, it is not something that we come here to make noise the way we are making. Mr. Speaker, the duty of the police is to protect and prevent the people of Kenya and their properties. So, Mr. Speaker, for all of us, as we are here today, this Maandamano, even if I'm in opposition or opposition side, I cannot support it because it is destroying this country, it is destroying the economy of this country, and Mr. Speaker, we must team together to build the economy of this country. And in any case, Mr. Speaker, we need to support, because this government is barely only 6 months, not many years in power. 6 months. Let us give the president of the day the support to recover the economy of this country, Mr. Speaker. But don't just come here and make noise to each other, appeasing each other, calling others' names. No, that will not help whether you are in opposition or whether you are on government side. Mr. Speaker, thank you for those few remarks that I've made, and thank you for listening to me, honorable members.
Owen, you are on a point of order. He's on a point of order. He's on a point of order. No, he's on a point of order. Yes.
I want to say this to members of this House. There's one thing in this House that unifies us all, the Speaker of the Assembly. When he sits on that chair, even me, even the President when he walks in this House, but as long as the Speaker is there, we can shout against each other. We can do all those things. But there's one thing, members, we must always uphold and respect is the Speaker. We cannot shout at the Speaker. That's why even when we go out there, we get there, we bow. That's why when the Speaker walks in this chamber, all of us stand, because we must hold utmost respect for the Speaker. So, my honorable members, there are many things we can do in theater, but there's one thing we cannot do is to disrespect. I've seen members of my coalition, as they've been told to move out, they shout at the Speaker. And they, and they call names at the Speaker. That is the act. You are not only disrespecting the Speaker, you are disrespecting the House. The mess, when it is put here, is a symbol of authority, which is represented by the Speaker. So, honorable members, we can shout at each other, do many other things, but I want to ask that we respect the Speaker utmostly, because that's when this House will stand. I thank you.
The MP Women Rep for Taita Taveta, followed by the Women Rep for Migori.
Asante sana Bwana Spika kwa kunipatia fursa, hatimaye na mimi pia naweza kuchangia. Bwana Spika, nataka kusema hivi, ni jambo la aibu sana. Miaka nenda miaka rudi, mambo ni yale yale, maandamano. Wahusika ni wale wale, na mhusika mkuu tunamjua. Anaitisha maandamano, miaka nenda miaka rudi, watoto wa watu wanamwaga damu, wanakufa kwa maandamano. Mambo yao ni yale yale, kuibiwa, tumeibiwa, kukataa matokeo ya uchaguzi, kuleta visababu ili waweze kupata ile ilisemekana juzi handshake ama nusu mkate, na wakishapata ile nusu mkate wanakula peke yao. hawagawanyi ile mkate na wale watu ambao wanaenda kuwa maandamano, hata na zile familia za wale watu wamekufiwa na wapenda wao. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni vizuri kulalamika ama kulalama kama kuna kosa, lakini kuna njia ya ustaarabu ambayo tunaweza kuleta hoja zetu, na tumeona watu wakifanya hivyo kwa njia ya ustaarabu. Lakini si haya mambo ambayo tunajionea katika Kenya yetu ya watu kwenda barabarani kuharibu mali za watu, na hata hatimaye watoto wa watu wanapoteza maisha. Hadi lini kina mama wataendelea kulia kwa ajili ya watoto wao? Mheshimiwa Spika, itafikia mahali tutawaambia watakula mili za wale watu ambao wanafariki. Haifai na wala haistahili. Tunayalaani hayo maandamano kwa sababu si maandamano ya amani kama vile wanavyosema. Kwa hivyo tunasema namna hii, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni lazima tuheshimiane na tumpatie rais aliyoko mamlakani nafasi ya kufanya kazi. Hata mama akishika ujauzito inachukua miezi 9 kuweza kujifungua na kupata mtoto. Hakuna mimba inazaliwa na miezi 3 ama miezi 4. Kwa hivyo tumpatie rais ambaye ni William Samoei Ruto nafasi ya kufanyia watu kazi. Mheshimiwa Spika, watu wanaogopa kwa sababu wanajua William Samoei Ruto ni mchapakazi, na ndio maana wanaona wakimpatia nafasi atawaaibisha. Ndio maana wanataka kwenda barabarani. Kwa hivyo tuungane sote pamoja, tuache maandamano. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
The woman rep for Migori, followed by the MP for Emerua Dikir. Woman rep for Migori, Fatuma Mohammed. Proceed.
Okay, shukran. Mr. Speaker, first I'm very sorry for my conduct today. That is not like me. But I must also confess that I was agitated. Because every moment they stood, they kept on referring to Raila, Raila, Raila. And honestly, as an independent member of parliament, that got me. I am not ODM for your information. I am independent. So when I speak, I am an independent mind. Mr. Speaker, sir, the other side has been talking so much that there are better ways of addressing this issue of Maandamano. Just in case to refresh your memory, Honorable Raila, Right Honorable Raila Odinga gave 14 days for action to happen. There was no Maandamano within the 14 days. But because this country, Africa as a whole, has one habit that the only language they understand best is Maandamano. And so we give you what you ask for. We asked for 14 days for you to act politely, and you did not act. Mr. Speaker, sir, the first time Maandamano ever happened in this country, for my short time I was in school, there was a man called Henry Thuku. In 1938, he led a Kamba politician protest. That was not Raila Odinga, and they got what they wanted. The country has brought this habit that Maandamano is the way forward. So unless, as long as they don't listen to what wananchi want, we will keep on going for Maandamano. And Mr. Speaker, sir, that was my first time ever I was born to participate in a Maandamano. I did not carry a stone. I was sweetly dressed with a red lipstick. I did not beat anyone, but I was tear gassed. I looked for a stone I did not get. And I'm sending a warning. You tear gas me, the police, this time, I will get a weapon to defend myself. Because you cannot tear gas me when I'm singing a word that I think works for me. So the police should be told by their bosses that when it is peaceful, keep it peaceful. I attended where Right Honorable Raila Odinga was having his coffee at Serena. And then he said that he wants to walk out and address the media. I accompanied him to address the media. Before he uttered a word, and the media men were all there and women, they threw a tear gas at him, a tear gas that hit me, a tear gas that hit other women and men. I did not carry a weapon. So why are they saying all the time that anything that happened is because of the demonstration? The boy that died, the Masen University boy, and may Allah have mercy on him, he died out of a bullet. He did not die out of Ruto must go word. Those words do not kill, Mr. Speaker, sir. And we are speaking with pain because a child has been killed. That boy was singing his own words, I don't know what, but he must as a hustler that they stood for. So today to come here and blame Right Honorable Raila Umechokesha Ruto for the sins that the police are doing under executive order is ungodly. Mr. Speaker, sir, in 2022, no, it was not 2022, 2017, 2013, before that one, 2007. 2007, I know people who are in power today who were on the streets when I was a baby, and I saw familiar faces that are today in State House, and they were saying somebody must go because they felt their votes were stolen. The same right today, when somebody else is singing, it becomes wrong. When they were singing, it was okay. Mr. Speaker, sir, Maandamano will continue. Aluta continua. The country must be saved. I rest.
Asante Bwana Spika, yangu tu haitakuwa mengi Bwana Spika. Ningependa tu niseme ya kwamba ni jambo la kustaajabisha Bwana Spika, wakati nchi zingine ziking'ang'ana na mambo ya kujenga nchi zao, wakati wananchi wa nchi zingine wakimambana na kutengeneza nchi yao, nchi yetu Bwana Spika yenye ilitoka uchaguzi juzi inang'ang'ana na mambo ya kupigana. Bwana Spika, ningependa tu niseme ya kwamba sisi tulimaliza uchaguzi juzi tu, na kila member ambaye ako hapa Bwana Spika akiambiwa warudie election hawezi kubali. Kwa nini tulikubali tuliposhinda? Kwa nini tunakataa wengine wakishinda? Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, ningependa niseme mimi siungi mkono hii mambo ambayo inaendelea. Bwana Spika, unajua maafa yenye imetokea Kenya hii tangu uhuru ni mengi sana. Watu ambao wamekufa wakipigania haki, watu ambao wamekufa wakiuawa na maserikali yenye zilikuwa. Bwana Spika, histahili saa hii wakati demokrasia iko Kenya hii, bado tunaona maafa yenye inaendelea Kenya hii. Kwa hivyo nataka niombe marafiki zangu kwamba hii serikali ni changa sana. Sisi wengine tumepitia magumu, na nataka kila mtu asikie, hata ningependa hata Salasi asikie mheshimiwa. Sisi wengine tulifungwa, sisi wengine tulipitia mabaya, lakini tumesema lazima tuvumilie, tuone hii serikali ifanye kazi, tupee nafasi ifanye kazi. Wengine wakiona polisi wanatorokea choo, wanajificha kwa choo, alafu wanatuambia Bwana Spika ati wanataka, Bwana Spika, sisi tunajua Kenya serikali iliyopita vitu yenye ilitenda, tunajua uwizi ambao waliifanya, tunakumbuka vizuri sana. Kuna wakati walichukua bilioni 16 usiku moja, within madakika 26 wamebeba pesa. Wengine walichukua bilioni 90. Bwana Spika, sababu hii maandamano yanaendelea saa hii si ati kwa sababu watu wako na njaa, ara sisi tuko na njaa, lakini hatujaamua kwenda maandamano. Kuna watu ambao wanataka kuficha yale maovu waliotenda wakati serikali ilikuwa inakufa. Bwana Spika, waje tukuambie, na lazima tuambiane ukweli. Sisi tunavumilia, tunanyamaza tu. Watu wajue hata sisi tuliumia, lakini hatujauliza chochote. Tumesema serikali iendelee kufanya kazi. Kwa hivyo wale ambao wanapea pesa, watu wanafanya maandamano, watu ambao wanalipa hii watu ambao wanakufa kwa maandamano, tunataka kuambia, mlikuwa na serikali ya handshake, mlitawala mwaka 5, mlishindwa kubadilisha uchumi ya Kenya, mlishindwa kuleta maendeleo Kenya. Waacha mwenye ameshinda apambane na kazi mwaka 5, nyinyi mrudi muulize kama amefanya hajafanya. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, mimi ningependa kwanza niulize rais ambaye alistaafu kwamba alipata wakati wake mwaka 10 hakuzumbuliwa, aenda apumzike. Waje kusumbua raia, waje kusumbua Kenya, waje kutisha wa Kenya. Tuna mambo mingi yenye tunaweza kukuuliza, lakini hatutaki kukuuliza, hatutaki tukumbuke yaliyopita. Waenda nyumbani, kaa starehe zako, kula starehe zako, wachana na Wakenya wafanye maendeleo yao. Asante Bwana Speaker.
MP for Kajiado Central, followed by the MP for Wajir North. Order. Yeah.
Thank you.
Kajiado,
Thank you.
order.
Thank you.
Order.
Huh?
Honorable Speaker, let me start by thanking you for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to this very important and weighty issue. And Speaker, let me first start by saying that a very weighty